Welcome back to Let's Make a Game. In this video, I would like to continue talking about tactical combat. I have added some code to the program so that it now places the monsters on the map once it's generated the map. So you can see here that the monsters are placed on the left-hand side of the map. And if we load it up again, they'll be in different positions, but they're always on the left-hand side of the map. So let's have a look at the code. So I've shown you that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. So we're up to generating the map. The first thing we do is place the pentagram, this thing that's going to be the goal of this first scenario. It is placed with an x value of 1 and a y value of, we want it to be in the middle. The way we get it in the middle is we go math.ceil, which is short for ceiling, bracket, height over 2, end bracket. Math.ceil means round up. The height is 7 currently, so it will find half of that, well that's 3.5, and it will round that up to 4. We then place 3 single square barriers. Now, when we're placing barriers, we have to be very careful that we don't cut off any part of the board from any other part. When we place a barrier, we look at all the squares around it to make sure that they're all blank, as well as looking at the squares that become barriers themselves. That way, there'll always be a passage through. You'll always be able to get from any empty square on the board to any other. So we have a for loop that goes from 1 to 3. We pick a random square. X is from 1 to width, Y is from 1 to height. Then we do something that we often do, which is we set a temporary variable to 1, do some code, usually involving a for loop, and it might set that temporary variable to 0, and if at the end of that the temporary variable is still 1, we know that there's no problem. So we have 2 for loops. For x1, called that so we remember that it's still got to do with the x variable. For x1 equals x minus 1, x1 is less than or equal to x plus 1, x1 plus plus. So for example, if x is 5, we're going to look at everything from 4 to 6. If x is 1, we're going to look at everything from 0 to 2. If x1 is greater than 0 and x1 is less than or equal to width, well that means that we're dealing with an x1 value that is actually on the board and therefore worth looking at. If that's the case, then we do another for loop, which is the same but for y. For y1 equals y minus 1, y1 is less than or equal to y plus 1, y1 plus plus. And again, we say for each y1, we say, well, is that on the board? If y1 is greater than 0 and y1 is less than or equal to height, then do this code. So here, if this code executes, we will have an x1 and a y1 value that are actually on the board within the range of 1 to width and 1 to height. And we say if def map x1 y1 set w equals 0. If def just means if that variable has any defined value, if it's been given any value. Because if it's been given any value, it will have been given the value of 2 for the pentagram or 1 for a barrier. So we know that there's a potential problem there. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to cut off any part of the board, but it might. And so we set w to 0. We close off all the ifs and fors and so on. And at the end of that, if w is equal to 1, we haven't found any problems. We set map xy equal to 1. Otherwise, we set z minus minus, which just means do it again. Then we place 4 2x2 square barriers. When we choose an x and a y value, it's a random value from 1 to width minus 1, and a y value is 1 to height minus 1. The reason for that is this particular xy value is one corner of the 2x2 block. We need to look at from x minus 1 to x plus 2, and from y minus 1 to y plus 2, again because of that 2x2 block. Exactly the same thing if the square that we're looking at is defined, set w to 0, and if w is equal to 1, because it's a 2x2 block, we set map xy to 1, but we also set map x, y plus 1, map x plus 1, y, and map x plus 1, y plus 1 to 1, and that will create a 2x2 block. Otherwise, set z minus minus. Now we're up to placing the enemies, but it looks like I've run out of time for today, so I'll have to deal with that next video. I will leave it there for now. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.